which is the future you see.
Future?
Welcome to Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Airy. I've recently been rewatching the entire Star Wars saga because that's what I do between Marvel binges. And for the first time, I noticed that Empire Strikes Back actually introduces a form of time travel into the saga. Now, not physical time travel like people moving back and forth in time. That does exist in Star Wars, which I'll talk about later. Empire proves that it's possible to communicate with the Force backwards in time. Kind of like the movie Frequency, when Dennis Quaid talks to his grown son in the future.
That's an Encyclopedia Brown, the case of the dead letter office.
Let me explain. First, since we're talking about Empire, I need to clearly establish the timeline of the movie, because it can be a little confusing. After the Battle of Hoth, Luke splits off from the other rebels to train on Dagobah. Meanwhile, Han and Leia have trouble rendezvousing with the fleet because the Millennium Falcon's hyperdrive is broken. So they have to travel to Bespin at sublight speed, and that takes a very, very long time. So, while the movie is edited to look like all of the events are happening at the same time, Luke is actually training on Dagobah for several weeks, while the Falcon is limping along to Cloud City. There, timeline established. Now let's talk about Luke's vision. In his final training lesson, Yoda teaches him to calm his mind and says,
Through the Force, things you will see, other places, the future, the past.
Luke sees a disturbing vision, like father like son, am I right? And he falls. He describes the vision to Yoda.
I saw a city in the clouds.
Friends you have there.
They were in pain.
Then, Yoda provides a key element that solidifies this timeline.
Which is the future you see.
So Luke is definitely seeing the future in his vision. Okay, now put that in your pocket, remember it for later. Next scene, Han and Leia arrive at Cloud City. They meet Lando, everything seems fine. In the next scene, Luke is abandoning his training to help Han and Leia. Apparently he doesn't care about Chewbacca. He says,
I can't keep the vision out of my head. They're my friends. I gotta help them.
this is also important. He says vision, singular. So he's only had this one vision of his friends in pain that is from the future. Then Lando does a heel turn on Han and we cut away from the most awkward dinner ever. In the next scene, Luke is entering the Bespin system.
Just hang on, we're almost there.
Then comes the most interesting scene that proves some element of time travel exists here. Vader is torturing Han, Chewbacca, and presumably Leia off camera. And when I was a kid, I just thought this was because he's a bad guy doing bad guy things. But it turns out this torture was intended to send out a psychic cry of help to Luke, so he would rush in to help them and fall into Vader's trap. Now, Vader knew this would work because when he was about Luke's age, he heard his mother's psychic cry for help from all the way across the galaxy. But here's the most important distinction. Han and Leia's suffering doesn't reach Luke as it happens. He feels their suffering days or maybe even weeks before it occurs. Therefore, Vader is using the Force to send psychic messages to Luke in the past. That, my friends, is
time travel!
Now I know some of you are saying that's ridiculous, that's not what the filmmakers had in mind, you're overthinking this, and to that I say, no, they didn't plan out all of this, and yes, I am overthinking this because I love Star Wars and this is fun. But wait, there's more. Vader also knew this would work because it happened to him already. He saw visions of Padme's death in the future. So, he suspected that his son would have a similar sensitivity to the Force. So far, this method isn't refined. Only images of pain and suffering can reach into the past because these are the emotions that resonate the strongest with us. But it could be that maybe a very powerful Force user could refine this ability to communicate back and forth through time. And like I mentioned before, time travel does exist in Star Wars. In the Rebels episode, The World Between Worlds, Ezra enters a nexus of reality where the Force flows through the universe. He's able to see and hear different events in time.
The Force is what gives the Jedi its power. It is created by all living things.
And even affects the past when he saves Ahsoka Tano from death. So, when Vader sent his message through time, this is where it would have traveled through. But this also changes the way time and prophecy are perceived in Star Wars. In the original films, time was open-ended. Jedi are able to see a possible future, but not the future. Yoda even says,
Always in motion is the future.
This is an open timeline theory of time travel, that the universe moves on a fixed line through time. This means that the Jedi and Sith aren't quite able to accurately see the future. But another theory is that time is a flat circle as seen in the movie Interstellar or the Watchmen comic and TV show. Basically, everything that will happen has already happened and you can't alter the future or the past. Anakin sees Padme's death and as a result, he causes that death to happen. Palpatine sees Luke destroy him and his efforts to turn Skywalker causes him to be destroyed.
Everything is proceeding as I have foreseen.
This implies that Star Wars works on a fixed, flat-circled timeline that linear beings, such as Yoda, have difficulty interpreting. So what do I mean by linear beings? Well, that's someone like us, who lived in the past, now lives in the present, and will die in the future. A non-linear being would see time all at once, like it's all occurring at the same time. Thus far in Star Wars, there's only one being that sees time in a non-linear fashion. That's your mom. Anyways, I could go on, but tell me what you think in the comments. Would you like to see more time travel in Star Wars? Or in a film series that combines sci-fi, westerns, and fantasy, is that one genre too many? Let me know in the comments below. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. For Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Airy.